Hey, it's Kathleen Jasper, and today we are talking about the interview process. It's that time of year where many of you are going to maybe switch schools. So you're going to interview with a new principal, or maybe you're a brand new teacher and you're getting ready to interview for your first time. And today we're talking classroom management because you will be asked questions about classroom management. And if you are new to teaching, this might be difficult because you've never managed a classroom yet. So I'm going to show you how to tackle that. Let's get started. All right, so many of you are preparing for your first interview, perhaps, so that you can get hired for the next school year. Right now, I'm recording this in the second semester of 2025. So we're starting to wind down the year. And you might be thinking, well, I want to start teaching. Maybe you're going to be graduating from the College of Education soon. Or perhaps you're a new teacher at a different school and you want to switch to another school. You want to try a new school. Totally fine. But you might want to brush up on your interviewing skills, specifically in the area of classroom management, because any principal who understands the classroom is going to ask you about this. They might ask, what is your classroom management plan? What is your approach to classroom management? How do you manage student behavior? How do you deal with behavior in your classroom? Anything that has to do with behavior, difficult students, managing transitions, anything like that is a classroom management question. And the principal wants to know that you have a plan. So first, I'm going to start with those of you who are already teaching and perhaps you want to move to a different school. I'm going to show you some strategies on how to answer this question. And then I'm going to talk about the brand new teacher who's never managed a classroom, who has never managed classroom behavior yet, and how to answer this question so that you shine in your interview. So first, if you are a teacher who's been teaching, 1 to 3 years or whatever, and you're about to change schools, you're about to interview, you may want to reference your own classroom management plan that you are currently using. So maybe you have routines and procedures for entering the classroom, for transitioning between math block, science block, whatever, lining up at the door, going to lunch if you are elementary. If you are middle or high school, perhaps you have a plan for students who come in the classroom. Maybe there's a bell ringer on the board that they have to do. I talk a lot about this in my videos, keeping the students busy while you have to do your administrative tasks like taking attendance and things like that. And so you want to talk about that. But it's very, very important that you reference practiced routines and procedures. You can't just say, I have expectations, because we all have expectations. How do students meet those expectations? Well, they do that by practicing. And in order to get them to practice properly, you have to model those behaviors and allow them time to practice. So you may want to reference something like, at the beginning of the year, I model the type of routines and procedures I want students to do in my classroom. For example, entering the classroom. I have a set of expectations I want students to meet when they enter my classroom, and there's usually a bell ringer on the board. So I demonstrate, I model how to do that, and then we practice that over and over again until the students understand it, right? Perhaps there's another procedure for labs. If you're a science teacher, maybe you have a procedure for labs. You also want to reference the fact that you are very explicit in this process, that you have maybe a set of expectations or steps on the board. Perhaps it's a handout, like if it's a lab, maybe you have a set of procedures you do every time for a lab, whether it's getting into their lab groups, whether it's like recording what's going on for the lab, grabbing the, supplies and things like that. You're going to want a set of procedures, and perhaps that is printed out and put in their notebook. You can decide, or maybe you just project them on the board to make sure they have time to look at those. But it's important to be explicit. So telling them exactly what you want them to do in a step-by-step process. And it's important to demonstrate. So you model as the teacher, you're like, okay, everybody watch me. And you might think this is silly, but it's not. People need an example. They cannot read your mind. And sometimes your instructions may not be specific enough. So you say, let me show you how I want this done. And you get up and you follow the instruction. Okay, step number 1, stand up, push in your chair. I mean, sometimes you have to be explicit about that. Step 2, walk to the supply closet, grab my microscope or whatever you're doing, right? And go through it step by step. And then we say, okay, does anybody need me to demonstrate that again? No. Okay, let's try it. So you want to convey to the principal that you will model these expectations and then you will provide students time to practice them. If you're elementary, these would go for entering the classroom, transitions, going to specials, PE, playground. Perhaps there are some procedures for playground. You don't have to get into the weeds of every single procedure, right? Because if you're an elementary school teacher, you're going to have a lot. If you're high school or middle school, you're going to have a lot too. And if you're PE, you are going to have a lot to keep, 100 kids under control, right? But you do want to emphasize that you will have designated routines and procedures for each transition in your classroom for whatever you're doing, and you will give explicit instructions, model it, and give students time to practice it. And here's one more thing you can add. If at any time students fall out of the routine, because this happens, right? Everything's good for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and all of a sudden, third week, fourth week, the kids just turn into, crazy people after lunch and things like that. You are willing to stop instruction and do those routines and procedures again, because learning cannot take place unless you have a well-managed classroom. And you may think, wow, why are you spending so much time on this? Ask any teacher who has spent time on classroom procedures and routines, and they will tell you that it has mitigated behavior issues. Not all of them. You're still going to have students who have issues, and that's a different story, but it mitigates that, and it helps for a well-run, predictable classroom where students are learning and you're focused on the learning and less on behaviors. And that's what you want. You want to be focused on teaching students, how to understand concepts rather than how to put their book away properly. Haven't we gone over this already? You don't want to be doing that. So convey to the principal your plan, and then please do that plan. Like, you don't need to be telling the principal, oh, I'm going to do this and that. And then when you get into your classroom, you don't do any of that. That's fraudulent. Okay. So let's not just talk a good game or say these types of things. Let's actually do them. And you start off by practicing as well. Good classroom management does not happen like that. It happens over lots of hard work, practicing, talking with students, helping them practice again, starting over, doing it again. That's what's really important. I'm telling you, if you do this, you'll have a really, really, really good experience in the classroom. Now, if you're a brand new teacher and you've never done this and you've never managed students before, you could simply say, I know how important classroom management is. And I have been watching lots of videos on YouTube and also reading books on it. Hopefully you are watching videos on YouTube and reading books on it. And I have decided that classroom management is going to be at the forefront of my instruction. And I plan to have specific routines and procedures for each thing in my classroom. I will make sure I'm explicit, I will model, and I will give us time to practice, because I know that's really important. And you might just say, I'm new to this, so I'm probably going to mess it up, but I'm definitely going to be focusing on classroom management at the beginning of the year and anytime that I need to. And if you just put that out there and say, like, I'm new, but this is important to me, and I know how important it is for a well-run classroom, the principal will say, okay, great. You might even say, and when I need help, I'll reach out to another teacher who has really good classroom management and maybe go observe on my planning period or something like that. That's really good. And I highly recommend that. If you're brand new and you know of a teacher who just has her kids just boom, 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 like manage classrooms so well, ask her, hey, can I come in and watch what you do? Because I'm having trouble and I would like to go in and just see what you're doing. And she'll say, of course, please come in, So do that on your planning or lunch or whatever, whenever you can have time to do that, which you may not. Planning periods are like going the way of the dodo, and you have to do more and more in the day. But if hopefully you work for a school that gives you some time where you could observe those classrooms. Now, if you're looking for more help in this area, I've got you. I have tons of resources. Let me show you where to get them. First, my book, Teach, a Survival Guide for New Educators. This is available on Amazon. You can get it if you have Kindle Unlimited. You can get it on Kindle Unlimited or in paperback for $14.99. We have tons of 5-star reviews, and lots of new teachers and veteran teachers love this book. And there is a huge section on classroom management that will help you in this area. Now, along with that, I have a course that goes with it for $39.99. I go through everything that the book goes through. And so you can kind of have a video guide along with the book. And then finally, I have a comprehensive teacher interview course that has all the types of questions you might be asked in your interview, because I have interviewed teachers over and over again as an assistant principal. I've also been interviewed over and over again. So this is everything I've learned as a school leader, and I've put it into an interview series, which helps you with every type of question you can be asked and how to answer it, whether you're a seasoned teacher or a brand new teacher. So those resources are linked up in the description below. Make sure you check them out. And I wish you luck on your teacher interview. Remember that classroom management is really important, and focus on how you would improve that for your students. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below, and have a great day.